Good morning. My name is Fokke Geritsen and I'm the director of the Netherlands Institute in Turkey. And it's a great pleasure for me to say a few words on this occasion. First of all, I would like to express my thanks to Koç University's Office of International Programs for organizing this conference and the workshops that you'll have in the coming days, for inviting the Netherlands Institute in Turkey to be part of this, and also, I think, for choosing as the focus for this year the Dutch and Turkish youth. My own perspective on this topic is based on teaching archaeology at VU University in Amsterdam, and on here directing the Netherlands Institute in Turkey. And both positions bring me directly in situations where I engage with Dutch students, with Turkish students, and with Dutch-Turkish students. I'll use the term Dutch-Turkish, but Robert Schoddeboom has already indicated the complicated terminology you quickly get into. And I get into positions where I can observe the interactions between these groups of youth, or in particular when they are students. But I should say that it's not my field of research, and all I can do is share some very anecdotal impressions with you. I think it's important to realize that by now a significant percentage of Dutch-Turkish youth enroll in higher education in the Netherlands, and many of them go on then to become very successful members of society. I think compared to the generation of their parents, they have a much greater degree of interaction with Dutch people of their own age and of different generations. And I expect, I'm sure that this is a big factor in taking away prejudices. And the beautiful example just given by Robert Schoddeboom is a great example that shows how for people of student age generations, very often these backgrounds and nationalities have a very relative meaning. The fact that education is highly valued here in Turkey, and by extension also in the Turkish community in Holland, I think also helps in this respect. However, we should maybe also acknowledge that here in Istanbul and here at the Netherlands Institute in Turkey, we regularly see Dutch-Turkish university graduates who have made the step to move away from Holland and to come to Turkey to try to build up a life here instead of in Holland. Istanbul is, of course, a great draw because of its booming economy and booming cultural life, but there is also probably reasons why they moved away from Holland. And it's not always easy for them to get started here. Often they have not have had a formal education in Turkish. Their command of written Turkish that they need in the workplace is not always quite as good as necessary. And culturally speaking, in some respects, maybe they're more Dutch and less Turkish than they think before they come here. And the example of the way they cheered last night for the Dutch soccer team is maybe also an aspect of this. So this affects their chances, their options for a working life here in Turkey. As I said, we should ask ourselves also why they decided to move away from Holland. Again, I'm not a sociologist, but I could imagine that a lack of recognition, a lack of inclusion in the Netherlands is part of this. And that it also can stem from the tone of the political discourse on migration, on integration that is going on at the moment in Dutch society. It can be harsh in tone, and it also doesn't in any way, this discourse doesn't distinguish between absolute newcomers, between refugees, between people of second or even third generation descent. It all throws them sort of in one big bucket. And I think, personally, the Dutch society is not all that good, not all that suited to treating second and third generation newcomers as Dutch citizens rather than as people labeled with somehow a foreign label. So while we should not overstate the problems of Dutch-Turkish youth, I think a lot of them are doing extremely well. the dilemma should be acknowledged that they are expected to belong to 2 or maybe even to 3 different communities that come with different identities, sometimes conflicting identities. So there's Dutch society, there's the Turkish community of their parents and their families, and when they come here, they also have to deal with Turkish society in Turkey that they are not completely, they are part of and not completely part of at the same time. And this, of course, you can imagine, can lead to an idea that they don't belong anywhere. So what about the Dutch Institute then? What do we do? Well, the Netherlands Institute in Turkey actually is hosted by Koç University here in this building. We're in one of the floors above us. We conduct research, we support research on Anatolia and Turkey today, on its history, on culture, languages, throughout all time periods. And we've done this here in Istanbul since 1958. First, maybe it started as sort of a base for Dutch researchers when they came to Turkey for their own research projects. But over the years, our institute has developed into a meeting place for Dutch and Turkish researchers and students. And in the final bit of my presentation, I would like to highlight some of the examples of the projects that we run, the research projects, but at the same time, they help us create these situations where our institute can serve as a meeting place, a place for exchange of knowledge, exchange of view. And the first project that is conducted that I would like to mention takes place here in Istanbul. It's an urban heritage project focusing on the Tophane neighborhood. The Tophane neighborhood is very close by here, just in the streets below the institute, a neighborhood with a very rich heritage. Goes back to the Byzantine period, but it has a lot of Ottoman heritage and also from Republican periods. And my colleague at the Institute, Karen Schuitema, has been studying the changes in this neighborhood, changes that take place at a very fast rate at the moment, in terms of the buildings, in terms of the functions of these buildings, and especially in terms of the people that inhabit the building. People that have often migrated into the neighborhood from the countryside over the last decades. But there's also still remnants of populations from earlier periods. And at the moment, there's again new people moving into the neighborhood in a process of gentrification that is going on. And the interactions of these people and the different interactions of all these population groups with their neighborhood, with the monuments in the neighborhood, with the built environment, the built heritage of their neighborhood, the immaterial heritage of this neighborhood is something that we try to study. So it's an NIT, a Netherlands Institute research project, but it's set up very much in such a way that other people, students, researchers from fields ranging from urban sociology to architectural history and all kinds of fields in between, can sort of hook up their projects to this larger Tophane heritage project. And you see a few pictures here of a fieldwork, an ethnography fieldwork project that was done last summer, whereby groups of Dutch and Turkish students together go into the neighborhood and interview people. And so sometimes it's the Turkish student who has, of course, the language advantage. Sometimes it's the Dutch student that comes with other experiences, and together they have to, or in groups of a few people, they have to try to find interesting people, interview them and their views, record this, and then get information, useful information for the research project out of this. Out of these interviews. As you can see for the pictures, especially for the Dutch, but just the same for the Turkish students, this puts them into completely new situations. They meet people from backgrounds that they have not really interacted with before, and at the same time they're in this situation where they work together with students from other backgrounds that they have to sort of team up with. And the second project I would like to mention in this regard is our archaeological excavation project. This takes place in the province of Bursa, a few hours to the south of here in northwestern Turkey. The site is called Barcınhöyük. And what we excavate here, as I said, I'm an archaeologist. This is the research project that I direct. What we excavate here in these big holes in the ground that you see here is a settlement by farmers that lived here about 8,500 to 8,000 years ago. In a sense, these were migrants. And one of the things we're trying to find out is where they came from, how they came to northwestern Turkey, why they became farmers, the generations before these people, whose houses and garbage and pottery we excavate, they were hunters and gatherers. So what we try to study is this major shift in history to food producing and to a life of settlements, of being settled in a single place. This is not a development that started in northwestern Turkey. It probably started in southeastern Turkey and Syria and northern Iraq. And through migrations, through exchange of knowledge, exchange of goods, the techniques and the knowledge associated with farming moved to northwestern Turkey and then on to Europe. One of the things in Europe that we owe to Turkey and to the Near East is farming. Our farming today in the Netherlands, the crops and the animals came from here. Here they were domesticated. Here it began, and it moved to Europe. This is something we try to excavate in this, try to investigate in this project. These excavations are always joined by students from several universities in the Netherlands, Koç University archaeology students, and from many other universities in Turkey and other countries. It's always a very international group that we are together with. So the students at the excavations, they learn about excavation techniques from us, and very importantly also from each other. They work in little teams, and the more experienced ones teach the techniques to others. They learn about documentation and record keeping. They learn, of course, about the finds, about the pottery, about the bone tools, about the chipstone tools, etc. And this kind of training for them is necessary to become professional archaeologists. Moreover, they learn, they find out about themselves how they function in the field under tough conditions. It doesn't show, but it's extremely hot, it's very dusty work, it's long hours, and the living conditions are not quite as comfortable as they are used to at home. And so even though it's not the primary goal of the project, it's always a pleasure for us. By the way, I direct this project together with my wife. I'm Dutch, my wife is Turkish, and it's always a pleasure for us to see how the effect of what we do in these trenches is that students from different countries learn about each other's backgrounds and about each other's ideas about life. These ideas can differ. They do differ. These differences are not necessarily always overcome while they're excavating, but there's always this curiosity and always this growing understanding. There have been, we've excavated here now for 7 years, and there have been this sort of ongoing friendships between the students, and I think quite a few of the students have returned to our project, especially to be with their Dutch or their Turkish co-workers again. I would not be surprised, I would hope, that the conference and workshops these coming days have a similar effect. And I would like to thank the participants all for coming, the organizers for organizing this, and I wish everyone a very inspiring time together here in Istanbul. Thank you very much.